What is up, team? Welcome to another episode of Investor Creator. Guys, this is a Patriots edition of Investor Creator, and I'm glad that you're here with us today. So unless you've been in a coma for the past 3 days, then you know that President Trump, that there was an assassination attempt that came incredibly close, could not have been closer without dire consequences. And there's a lot of questions that I could ask. I could ask, where was the Secret Service? Why did they allow a 20-year-old kid on the roof? How did the kid get access to this building when the Secret Service should have locked down this area days prior, because that is typical security protocol whenever you have a big event, even for people that are not presidential candidates? I could ask those questions, but then I'm going to sound like a conspiracy guy, and I could be, I don't know, but these are good questions, right? But the fact is that this is a real estate show and not a politics show. Go check out Ben Shapiro for that information. But there's a lot of questions. And I think the main question that we can ask as real estate investors, specifically, on top of being patriots and people that run businesses, entrepreneurs, and heads of our family, is how does this potentially impact the real estate market? And here's what I've seen, okay? In election cycles, we have historically seen a downturn of buyer activity, of buyer sentiment, right around the election time. Okay. So as an example, the last time that I really saw this was 2016, whenever it was Trump's first election. And I had a house in Nashville. This was when Nashville was really on an upswing in terms of a lot of gentrification, a lot of areas were turning. And we had a house. I'd bought this house for $90,000. It was going on the market, I think, at $285,000. It was a pretty big renovation. It was a gut down reframe, come back up from the studs renovation. And we had a good profit built into this deal. And this was a time when multiple offers was really normal. I think we put the property on the market middle of October, something like that. And it went on the market. And I was thinking, I wonder how many offers I'm going to get. My over-under, I think, was 14. You know, maybe we're a little bit over 14, maybe we're a little bit under 14 offers. And we put it on the market that first weekend. I was so excited. I was just waiting on my realtor to call, and nothing happened. We had some showings, guys, and the feedback was good. You know, people liked the house, but it was just one of those things that the buyers were not moving at that time. And I thought, this is so weird. Like there's no reason for this. And this became really a talking point for the people, certainly around the Nashville market. And then, you know, as I began to become more and more concerned, I called people, friends of mine from Dallas and Des Moines and Atlanta and Charlotte, and people all across the country, people that I've known for a very long time, that I respect their opinions, DC, Shane Umstead in DC, and said, hey man, what are you seeing, right? Like, what is going on in the markets that you're seeing that you feel might be helpful? Here's what we're seeing in Nashville. And everybody was really kind of seeing the same thing. So at that point, I felt not much better, but maybe a little bit better, that this was not a Nashville specific issue. And so what we came to the conclusion of, because what we saw right after the election, was that the buyers really came back very strongly. I ended up getting multiple offers on that house and closing it right before Christmas. So my days on market was still very good. And I remember, I'll tell this story really quick. The reason that I remember is right before Christmas is this was at a point when the business really needed the cash. You know, like we had some cash, but the business needed the cash. I had, I think, around $120,000 coming in from this deal, and we closed. We closed on our side, buyer closed on their side, and then the title attorney for the buyer ended up saying, hey, you know, I don't really like this deal. I don't think I'm going to close this. I don't think I'm going to fund. Now, here's the deal. I'd signed the deed. The bank had already sent the wire. The wire's in escrow. Buyers have already moved in. And now I have a title attorney saying, I don't think so. Flag on the play. And his stance was that there was a converted garage from the 70s that did not have a permit. Now, mind you, the buyer was okay with it. The home inspector was okay with it. Codes apparently was okay with it. The appraiser was okay with it. But this title attorney wants to throw a flag on the play. And what we found out was that this guy was a former litigator and just missed litigation. He really enjoyed litigation and he got into title work. And so at that point, he was not in a position where he was really having a lot of fun. So he wanted to create some problems so that he could have more fun. And so what I ended up having to do on this deal, guys, is I had to call my litigation attorney. His name's Tom Shoemade up in Nashville. Shout out to Tom. He's a great litigator. And this was after hours, right? So this was about 6 p.m. I'm going to a Christmas party. I've got this issue going on. Buyers have moved in. We don't know if they're messing up the house. house. I don't know if I have insurance on the house at this point, and it's not very clear on who actually owns the house because I've signed a deed, but I haven't been paid. And I called Shoemate and I said, hey, here's what I got going on, and here's what he recommended. He said, I think what we need to do is draft a complaint. I'll send it to the attorney tonight and say, if you do not release the funds on the deal that's already closed where the buyer's moved in and taken possession, then we're going to file this at 10 a.m. And so that's exactly what we did. Now, good attorneys are about $450 an hour, and good attorneys after hours are about double that. But it was a good investment. We got the deal done. I got my wire the next day, and all was lovely. But all that to say, this was the real estate market during that 2016 time, and this is the experience that you can't learn in a course. It's just, you got to be in the trenches. You got to have the battle scars for these types of stories. But at the end of the day, we saw that the market really came back after that 2016 election. It went very strong up until COVID, when things really died down for a time, and then the rates really propelled the market into the stratosphere. Now, how does that correlate with this Trump assassination attempt? Well, here's what I'll say would have happened had Trump not been blessed by the total grace of God and come away from this unscathed, is that we would have had an extreme market slowdown, because what I feel is that buyer sentiment, buyer activity is in part based on certainty of what's going on in the world. And so that's the only reason that I can quantify why an election would even matter. It doesn't really change rates. It doesn't change the job market. It just creates this air of uncertainty for buyers where they really don't want to move forward with things. And so that's my concern right now, is I don't know if this creates more or less uncertainty in the world, because it does appear pretty apparent, even to the most leftist of people, that probably Trump is the next president. So that creates a lot of certainty for a lot of people. A lot of people believe that, and I believe that to be true as well. But there's also this air of uncertainty of like, how could this possibly happen? Is our security really that weak? Some of the Secret Service people were flapping, running around like pandemonium, couldn't holster their weapon. Like, I'm not sure. And so at the end of the day, I think that right now is a time, how do we gauge this, right? I think right now is really a time where we look at showings. So what I want you to do on your listings that are retail right now, look at showings week over week. That's going to give you the finger on the pulse of what's going on in terms of buyer sentiment and buyer activity, so that you guys know what's happening in the market, and look at this on a 3-week trend. Okay. So you can't judge a market by one day. You can't judge it by 1 week, but we can look at it on about a 30-day trajectory and see month over month what's going on. But guys, if we go from 5-6 showings a week on a property to 0 this coming week, then that is indicative of a problem. Okay. Right now is not the time to redline your business. Let's be conservative. Let's go with really, really cheap, easy, clean, easy, obvious deals, so that we don't make mistakes in our business. We can remain safe. Guys, always remember the first rule of making money: don't lose money. Hope this is helpful to you guys. This is not a warning call, but this is something that we have to be cognizant of and really, really watch today in these market cycles, guys. We'll see you next time. Special Patriots edition of Investor Creator. Thank you guys for being with us today.